So I'm Ellenie,
And I'm Lawrence.
and the topic we have for our mini lesson is language grades. Okay, so we wanted to know, going into doing the research and the reading for it, why do so many people who speak the same language speak so differently? And by doing the reading, we found out that people who share the same language speak differently because they're influenced by their identity and their environment. So identity is one of the main variables in linguistic variation.
So like Ellenie said, people are shaped by their identity and their environment. We just call that situation. And so when people are shaped by their identity, they're really shaped by their age, their gender, their race, class, ethnicity. And if they're shaped by their environment, they're shaped by how they contact with people, the attitudes that certain people have with different dialects, and the setting.
And there are also some other things that fall under identity, such as orientation or experiences you have living, but they weren't main variables, so we're not going to go in depth with those steps. The first variable I'm going to talk about is age, and linguists study age in two main ways. One is with apparent time studies, which is where they'll look at a word or two words and compare the differences in distinction as time passes. So they may look at someone who's older, and the book gave the example of caught versus cot. Depending where the person lives, the elder may distinct the two words in saying, okay, I caught the ball, I'm sleeping on the cot, but maybe somebody from northern U.S. is going to say, I'm sleeping in the cot, I caught the ball. They'll have the same pronunciation for both words. And that really shows that the time has changed, that the older person still shows the distinction between two words, but the younger person doesn't. They use that method because it's a shorter way of studying how the language changes instead of studying 2 or 3 generations. When it comes to age grading, they'll look at a person and they'll look at their lifespan and how they speak. A person who's 5'6" won't speak the same as someone who's 14, 15, who also won't speak the same as someone who's 20, 30, 50, whatever the age is. For example, when I was younger, I used to tell my mom, I'm going to the stove. And her boyfriend started saying the same word. He was like, oh, let's all go to the stove. And I'm like, you can't say that. That's not cool when you say it. You're old. You're not allowed to say stove. Only younger people use slang. You can't do that. So that's a difference with age grade. You'll think of, okay, what do I say that my parents don't say, but they might have said when they were younger? And I have an example here.
Pretty sure y'all know Kevin Hart, so trying to get to it.
Right? She put a couple sentences together. But it's like every time I tell her something, she always got something to say back. No matter what I say, she always got to give me something back. And it makes me mad. You got to arguing over juice the other day. She came into the room, she was like, Daddy, juice. I said, no, you got enough juice, go get some water. She looked at me. She was like, juice. And I looked at her, I was like, who the fuck you think? I was so mad. I was mad because I knew she knew what she was trying to say. She just didn't know how to say it. Like in her mind, she was like, you black midget bitch. Punk ass daddy. I knew that's what she was saying.
So the reason why I use this example is because who knows, how she'll speak when she starts to get older. Maybe she'll still say, doomagama. Maybe she doesn't have the ability to, pick up language. So she might say doomagama, juice. But maybe she'll grow up, get a little older, and she'll say, get the juice, punk ass daddy. So she might say that. But when she gets older, if she starts, knowing the difference between what she can say and what she can't say, she's not going to tell her dad, black midget, get the juice. She's going to say, Dad, can I please have some juice? And then he's going to be like, no, drink water. You drink juice all day.
So as Ellenie pointed out, age plays a big part in how we speak. We don't speak the same as our parents. And also, as Kevin Hart illustrated, the ethnicity of somebody plays a big part in how people speak. you would not just listen to Kevin Hart and think, okay, that's, you know, a white girl from California. Or white guy from California. Evidently, he's an African American. You can tell by the way he talks, just by the way he talks. Even if you didn't see that, you already know, okay, he's an African American. So ethnicity plays a big part in language variation, and also history does too. So, you know, for example, slaves came from Africa to America and, you know, got mixed with Southern dialect. I mean, there's a big history behind it, but history and regional variation play a big role in ethnicity in the way it varies with language. So that's just another thing, ethnicity.
Another variable is gender. Obviously, women and men don't speak the same. We covered it in other mini lessons where we use certain fillers like sorta and like instead of just saying straight up what we mean. So it also happens to be that women tend to use more standard forms of whatever language that they're in or that they're using. And they're also leaders of linguistical change because they're so able to adapt to whatever the standard form is. It can be used really to give them upward mobility, or it can limit them, because if they don't adapt to the standard language, then they'll really limit themselves to being occupational workers in their homes instead of in businesses, because they don't have they're looked at as not having the intelligence to carry those higher job titles. Also, they rely on language to represent their identity. I studied abroad to Tunisia, and my host sister spoke French and Arabic. Arabic was her first language, but when she spoke to any other women, she always spoke French. I would never hear her speak Arabic to another woman unless it was an elder woman. So when she spoke to a man, she would speak Arabic. And it was weird because the men there only spoke Arabic to each other. They could speak French, but they didn't. So French was like held on a pedestal, saying that, you know, this is the better language, basically, even though Arabic is the native language here. French is the better language. So it was easier for a woman to go into a job interview, especially if she was interviewing with another woman, and be able to speak French, because that was looked at as being the more standard form of language.
So, Ellenie touched on it, but I want to pose this question to you guys. Why do you think that someone would purposefully or subconsciously want to code switch? In the example that Ellenie gave, she said that the women in Tunisia can speak two different languages, and they would choose between which one they wanted to speak. So, why would somebody want to do that? Just want to pose a question to you guys.
Gilbert.
I mean, some people know, like, certain dialects will make other people feel more comfortable. So, like, you could imagine a surgeon, like a southern surgeon, explaining it to, I know a comedian did this. He's like, you can imagine a southern surgeon going, yeah, well, we're going to make an incision in your belly, and then we're going to take out your liver and get that clot out. As opposed to them saying it in a more...
That's a great example. Does
like a much more comfortable way would just be whatever standard
to say it
is.
properly or properly.
Whenever I'm talking to police, much more...
When I get pulled over, I automatically officer, I'm sorry, what did I do? I don't know what happened. Like, I try to go into an innocent type.
Goes back to the car.
You don't want to cuss out a police officer. You might want to change it up from what you'll say to your friends. You might get a ticket plus an extra fine.
Anything else? Anybody got anything else? Why would somebody want to code switch in a particular situation?
You fit in socially and with a different group of people.
And social. Okay.
I used to work in retail. I kind of still do, but I would have to code switch every time I had a new customer, because I would get so many different customers, like Black, Asian, and it got to the point that I was code switching so much that I started to use people's accents when I was talking to them. So it wasn't the most polite thing to do, but, you know, I'm code switching between, you know, white upper class family, then I'm code switching to somebody from the inner city, Wilmington, Riverside, and then I'm code switching to this Asian lady, and she's like, can I have a size 6? And I'm, yes, I get it for you. I was like, oh my God, y'all really do that. When you're code switching, you have to know when it's appropriate. At the time, yes, it may have been appropriate for me to code switch to the white family and to the African African-American family to Riverside, and then when I went to her, I didn't have to, take her accent. It was just, that happened.
Okay. So you guys have a lot of good points. You too, brother. But this kind of leads to this. This is really one of my favorite slides, and I think this is like one of the most important concepts here, personally, me. So you guys have different opinions. But Nora said socially you may want to adapt to. Okay, what does this person expect from you? One thing I noted that the book said is that the standard language is determined by the most powerful class. For example, America. In upper middle, who composes or what does the upper middle class and upper class comprise? Like, what does that comprise of? White people. I'm saying white males. Okay. You guys. So because of that, right? It's that language that's the standard English. That's standard English because the upper class and the upper middle class are composed of white people. Something that might blow your mind, right? Imagine if the upper middle class and the upper class were composed of black people.
Y'all be talking like us. And be like, we majority, so y'all don't have to talk like this all the time. There's no getting around it. If you don't talk like me, then you just not smart because whatever you're speaking doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so imagine you go into a job interview, you would code switch. You know what I'm saying? You get me, right?
Can I get this job because I need to get paid? You go into the interview, can I get hired? It wouldn't be, I'm looking for a job. I have all this work experience. Look at my resume. Can I get hired? I have a lot of experience. Hire me. I'm the best person for the job.
Yeah.
Point blank, period. There's nobody else.
Yeah, I think y'all get the point. But this is something to think about, right? And another point too. Any deviations from the standard is non-standard. So that, the lower and the working class are usually in this category. So I made this little equation. I don't know how accurate it is. I'm not a math major or nothing like that. But class times no power equals non-standard, and class times power is standard. Alright. So where does this leave the lower middle class and the working class? They're typically left code switching, going between hyper standard and hyper non-standard. When they would go to hyper standard, say they go to say somebody in the middle class goes to a business meeting, they would use hyper standard. They would sound really formal. Early in the class, we watched this video of this, the black guy who was a teacher, and he was sounding very proper, and he was trying to teach the kids how to sound proper. Would you guys consider that hyper standard? Yeah, not a lot of ideas. Okay. Yeah, I think that was hyper standard. And say that same guy, right, went back to his community and he wanted to relate to the people. He probably used hyper non-standard, just trying to relate. That goes into the linguistic market of identification. Basically, the linguistic market of identification is basically you using language as something to present your identity. For example, your clothes, your hair, your ethnicity, skin color, all that stuff is a way you present your identity. All that stuff are ways you present your identity. And basically, the linguistic market of identification is using language as a way or as a means to present your identity in a particular way. So it's like you go to the market, you pick out whatever language you want, and you use it for this particular situation. Yes.
Okay. Another variable is contact, and contact has a big influence on language because it makes an impression on whatever language is being spoken. Whatever dialect is used in a specific region can make an impression on another dialect or language, and it can actually become part of that language, which ends up going into borrowing words, basically. That's what I like to look at it as, because it can make someone use their two languages or their dialect in their language and kind of form like a bilingual, multilingual type of language, or use it in their everyday life. My example here is, can I borrow su palabra? Can I borrow your word? It's mixing of English and Spanish, which leads to pidgins and creoles, because pidgins take